Well, hi everyone and welcome. I'm Alison. I'm from the Postgrad Association. I'm very pleased to be introducing our second workshop on Endnote, this time advanced Endnote, following up from our September workshop, which was an introduction to Endnote, with our marvellous SCU librarians, Jill Parks and Tali Allen. We are recording and I will send out the link to everybody afterwards if you want to view it and go over it. So that's all from me. I'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Alison. So firstly, I'd just like to acknowledge and pay respects to the ancestors and descendants of the lands upon which we work, meet and study. I'm mindful that within and without the buildings, the land always was and always will be Aboriginal land. So I'm going to run through a few things that we think might be helpful that are slightly more advanced, I guess, than the beginners workshop that we held. Now, there's a little disclaimer. Tali and I are both, neither of us are experts in Endnote. I dabble a bit. I'm a dabbler in Endnote. So, you know, and I guess the aim is just to give you these tips that might help you or save you time later on with your work. But certainly if you have any issues with Endnote, you can always get back to us and ask us. Tali will monitor the chat during the session. And you will also have the recording. You also can contact Clarivate for support. Clarivate owns Endnote now, so if you've got a Web of Science account, for example, you know, you're already sort of in the system. So we found that Clarivate support are also very, very helpful. You may also see messages when you're using Endnote that Endnote 21 is available. And yes, it is available, but we haven't changed our download options yet or made it available because we need to update our library guides before we do that and just do a little bit of testing. So next year, our classes will no doubt be on Endnote 21. They won't be on Endnote 20. And from first looks, it's not going to be a huge amount of difference. There's just a couple of little differences. So I'm just going to stop my video and share my screen. I just have to get rid of any incriminating things firstly, make sure my desktop looks tidy. So, where's my share? Okay, so just let me know you can see my little Word doc here.
Yeah, we can see it.
Good-o. So, and I'll show you my Endnote library. So one of the first things, so I'm assuming most of you will now have an Endnote library established. One of the most important things to know how to do is to compress your library. So that means basically backing up your library at regular intervals, whether you do that weekly, and I would suggest if you're adding references to your Endnote library on a regular basis, well then you need to back up your library on a regular basis. So when you need to do that, you can see the options sort of here. You can basically save a copy, but we don't recommend that because that doesn't actually save the files that you need for your Endnote library to run. That sort of only saves half of your Endnote library. So the part that you need to do is do this, compress your library. So we always recommend that you compress your library on a regular basis, and when you click on that, it will give you some little options here. You can save your entire library. Yep.
Jill, we can only see your Word file. Should we be able to see your Endnote?
Okay. Yeah, okay, hang on a sec, I'll reshare. So that's my word. So when I open up Endnote, can you see Endnote?
No.
Okay, so the option, it doesn't give me the option to share multiple windows. Okay. There we go. Can you see that now?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't say screen 1 or screen 2, it just says Windows. I've never seen that before. Okay, so when you go to compress your library, which is the recommended, so you click on compress, it will give you these options. So you can save your complete library, so all references in the library. You can save selected references, or you can save specific groups if you like. So when you go next, it will give you, we'll pop this up and you'll see that this is a compressed library file. So that means it's packaged up all the files that your EndNote library needs. So if you were to resuscitate it for some reason, you've got everything you need. Now, the main thing that you should do when you save your library in that way is not save it to the same spot where your existing library is. Okay, so your existing library should be somewhere on your hard drive. If you don't save it on your hard drive, then you've got the risk of it corrupting over time if it's on a cloud drive or a shared network drive. So number one, create your library on the hard drive of your computer, and two, compress it in a regular sort of way and save that compressed library. Just change maybe the date at the end so you know when you've compressed it, and save it either, you can save that to cloud directory, there's no problem. You can email a copy to yourself, or you can save it to an external hard drive. It's just somewhere off your computer. And that way, if your library does become corrupt, you've got a backup copy. The other main point with your library is in the preferences, a good tip is to have, like, if I go edit preferences and then libraries, when EndNote starts, open the specified library. So that's my main working library, is this one. So by default, you might see that that's on open the most recently library used. Now, or you can say do nothing, or you can have prompt to select a library. So if I choose open the most recently library used, and if I've been working on a shared library, for example, that could cause some confusion because I'm thinking, you know, I've opened a doc and then it's sort of not, the citations aren't inserting, or they're not looking as they should, and that could be because you're picking the wrong library here. So make sure you know where this is directing EndNote to open. If you want to, we don't recommend that you work with multiple libraries, but if you happen to be working with multiple libraries, you could select prompt to select a library so that you're actually manually going in and choosing the correct library to work with. There's really no need to have multiple libraries because there's an incredible amount of references that you can have in one library. You can have up to, we recommend that you organize your library by groups. You can have 5,000 groups, 5,000 group sets. So it's very unlikely that you would ever reach that sort of limit. So that's just another tip, because I have seen people get into all sorts of mess because of the setting in here. So have a look at your setting in the preferences and in libraries and check what you've got it on. Okay.
Jill?
Yep.
Yes, sorry, I don't know how to put my hand up. I probably, so I'm very sorry to interrupt, and you can tell me to wait till later if you prefer to. But just regarding multiple libraries, I was recently in a situation with EndNote where I had to change my references to comply with a certain journal's requirements to Index Medicus, which required me to, of course, modify the names,
Style.
shorten the names. And so I saved that in a separate library. But is there a way that I could have saved it within the same library, without creating another one? Am I making any sense?
So are you just talking about the style required for your document for you to submit to a journal?
Well, it's a little bit more than the style because it shortens the names of the journals. So you've got to go into Endnote and, so the shortened name for journal is J. And for medical, it's med. So it might be Journal of Medical Science or something, it'd be J Med Sci. And so you've got to shorten the names. And
yeah, so we will be looking at that a little bit because one of the things that where are we? Tools, output styles. So there's a couple of different things that you can do there. Where is it?
if it's a whole nother discussion, it's okay. I'll perhaps contact you separately.
It's really terms lists is what I'm looking for. There we go. So when you go to library, open terms lists.
Right.
You've got journals terms lists, and what happens if you don't import the journal terms lists? As you add your references, Endnote creates the terms. Okay, so maybe the best way to demonstrate that is with just the normal reference. So with authors, okay, so there's authors terms list. So as I'm putting in the references, if Endnote sees, Endnote will put in all the names. So you can see here that a couple of papers that I've added to my library have got the same surname there for an author, and they've put the first name. So that's now sort of created. And what happens is when you add a reference to your library, these fields, okay, so this is what is creating the lists from. So you're importing it, that one's a journal article, the journal here is +1. So those lists are built over time, okay, with all that information. So what happens is if you need to use a particular style, normally what we recommend is that you have a look in here in the journal style, and you'll find that it's in here, like the requirements that you need. And you can see that it's got abbreviation 1, abbreviation 2. So when you go in and choose your style, your output style, and so I've got mine on an edited version of APA 7. If I click on edit that, this will show you it'll show you why your reference appears as it does, okay? So you've got the journal names, okay? So in APA 7, we want full journal names, but you might want to only use that abbreviation 1 or abbreviation 2 as it appears in your journal list, okay? Do you see how that's linked? So that journal list is the journal list has all that information. It's got the full name and it's got the abbreviated names as they should appear for that particular journal. But your style, your output style, and in this case APA 7, is predetermined to say use the full journal name, okay? If I want to change that, I've got to change the style. So I've got to click on this, or any other edit. But in doing that, so say if I uploaded, I was using a particular journal style, what you should do is first save a copy of it, all right? You've got to go File, save as, okay? So I can save that as, and it might be abbreviated journals. So it's still APA 7, it's based on APA 7, and then I close that, and then when I go to output style, you can see here it's not listed, but what I need to do is go to open my style manager and go down to APA 7, and there it is there, that one that I've saved, and then now it's in my list of selections, so I want to go output style, and I can see it here now, and I'm clicked on that. So now I'm going to write my paper in that edited style that's going to show when I edit it, because I'd have to go in there and edit APA 7 abbreviated. So I go in here and I say, okay, I want my journal names to be appearing in abbreviation 1. So I go file save, and then I go file close. Okay, so then I've selected that I'm going to use that here, but then I also need to go to my Word doc. Can you see my Word doc now? Yep, okay, and then I'd go, okay, now I want to use this style, and then I would update my citations, and it would change that reference list from the full journal name to the abbreviated, okay? Does that make sense, Dan, or is that too much information?
Dan, you're on mute.
Sorry. Look, that's gold. Thank you very much. And just can I clarify that you get that abbreviated style, whichever it is that you want, and there's a number of different ways that things can be abbreviated. So you get that from the terms list. Is that correct?
Well, you can see what it is. You can see what is preloaded into EndNote by looking at that terms list. Okay.
Righto, Jill. Thanks
Yeah.
very much. That's great.
So just remember library, open terms list, journals terms list, and you can see here, is that going to appear how you want in your reference? Is it going to be?
I'm so excited I can hardly wait to have a play with it. Thank you.
If you're excited by that, Dan, that's just really, really sad. I'm sorry, but okay. So a little bit, and look, I'm happy for you to interrupt, because like my brain does not work well following a class format. I'm just not a natural teacher, which is why Tali's here to keep me on track.
I am.
So, but basically, those important things, your library, where is your library? You should know where your library is, so check those preferences. Your styles, you need to click your style in EndNote, but you also need to have it selected in Word up here for the style to apply correctly. So there are the basic things that we need to get through. There's also, I just want to go through a little bit more on groups, because as I said, one library should be enough, and you can organize into groups. Mine is a really bad example, because I've helped a lot of people with different research projects over the time, and I make a group for them. But I just want to show you the difference. So this is an automatic one. There's my groups. That's like an automatic thing that EndNote populates, but you can then make groups, and you can make group sets underneath that. So if I highlight it and then create a group set, I get another one of these with this drop down arrow, and that just means it's an overarching group. Okay, so it's a higher hierarchy, whereas the groups that are under the group set are just custom groups, so groups that I've made. And you might see that there's a little different symbols here between these two groups. This little symbol has got people, and that just means that that's a group that I have shared with someone. Whereas this one just looks like a inbox, and that's just a custom group, normal custom group. The other type of group that might be helpful for people is, say for example, this group, all I did to create that group was just go, create group and then name it Ian Glass. And what I did was I searched in all of my references for articles that had Ian Glass as the author. So what I did, so you can see I've clicked on all references now. I'll just get rid of that box. And I've just put up in here Glass. And you might want to search for Ian. You can change, also add Glass and put Ian Amos, Glass. So I did that search. All of these were author. It didn't have to be the first author. And remember just to change that or, because we don't want to qualify the search. We just want anything that contains that. And then I hit search. And that's not author contains. So that should have been way more than that. So I'm not sure what's happened there. So maybe I didn't qualify it so much. So just went search. Yeah, so that's better. So I was putting too many conditions on the search there. So you can see 206 records, and that's how I created that group. And I just clicked and dragged all those into that pre-named group. So if there's another type of group that you might find useful called a smart group. Now again, groups are just holding folders for your references. So all your references are still in this all references group. If I delete a group or edit it anyway, I'm not changing the overall or the underlying references. Okay, I can delete any of these groups, I can delete the group sets, but my references will remain in the library, in my library. My Endnote's freaking out. It doesn't like me, let's face it. I don't know why. I'm very likable. But anyway, so the other thing that you can do with groups is make what we call a smart group. So again, a smart group is going to be based on all the references, not just in here. But if you direct your cursor to where you want to create the smart group, you can click on that, right click, create smart group.
Jill, we can't see your EndNote anymore.
Okay. Cancel. Share. Oh, that's because it crashed.
Oh, it disappeared.
Yeah, so there we go. So to make a smart group is a group that's based on a search, right? So an underlying search. So if I go, I want to put a new smart group in here. So I go create smart group. I might call it XLMR. And I want all records in my library that have got a record with Glass as an author, but I also want any field containing X-linked mental retardation, and I might put in, I'll change that to all, because I want all of them, any field, also include Fragile X. So if I do that, it searches all my records, and there's 207 records in my library, so that's out of 1,300 that mention that have got the author Glass, but also the subject X-linked mental retardation or Fragile X, one or the other, or both of them. So if I click on this one, you can see that, well, the title's X-linked mental retardation, so of course that search has picked up that. So now you can see that group, can you see that enough or is that too small? that it's got the little search symbol now. So you know that that group is linked to a search. If I wanted to change that search, I can go edit group, and you'll see that that brings up the search that I previously just did. The other option that you've got here, if you would like to, you can save that search. So if you want to maybe rerun that search at some time, you can just go save. It will automatically save the search to a specific place on your computer. And I think I've already saved that before. So if I go restore defaults, you can load it. Okay, so I've saved a search previously, and you can see I've got that here. So it actually saves it to this sort of particular directory or path. And I've tried to save searches before to a different path and it doesn't like it. So I suggest you just go with the recommended path that pops up when Endnote gives you that option, if that helps. So again, you can load that search and rerun it. So that's sort of just the differences between custom group, a group, a smart group. There's also another type of group called create from groups. So if you want to include some records, it gives you these options. So that might be you're searching for, maybe you've got something like a group of records on diabetes, but you want to exclude gastric bands. Or something like that. So you could go, okay, I want all groups in my diabetes folder. So I could click on diabetes. Something like that, it won't let me. And then you can sort of exclude and say, well, but I don't want anything that, overlaps with or is from this other group that I've created. So it does give you a little bit of an option there to play around with how you your groups are organised. And that's, again, it's just a personal choice. With anything else with smart groups, so anybody got any questions about groups so far? There's all that information on how to create the different groups is in our library guides, but mainly just the group sets and custom groups, not so much. I don't think we have a lot in the LibGuides about creating smart groups. And I don't know how often people would use them, but they are nice additional search functions, I think, in Endnote. The other search function that you might find handy, or the other tool, it doesn't affect your library so much, but you can do a search on, if you see all these fields, because you can actually annotate PDFs in Endnote now, and of course those annotations are only viewable within Endnote, but if you've made some notes on a PDF in your Endnote library and you can't remember exactly which one it was, you can search using either this field, any field with PDF plus notes. So I'll show you if I do a search like that, I don't get anything, but I know I've made some notes on a paper on general relativity, so I can change that from any field to plus PDF to just PDF plus note, just PDF notes and search. Contains. Now it's not working for me, of course. PDF. Oh, I know why, because I'm in the wrong bloody group. Okay, so I was in genetics. So if I have PDF notes. Okay, so there it is there. So yeah, always remember, trick for young players, make sure you know what you've clicked on. So if I have a look at that reference and I look at the PDF, if I pop that out, if I click over here and then have a look at my annotations, I can see that I've made a little note here. If I double click and then I can see my note pops up. Okay, so some people might find it handy to be able to annotate their PDFs, and you can also search for that in the search options up here. Okay, and then you just go back to restore defaults. Okay, so so moving on from groups and searching, just a little bit more about working with long documents. Though we did discuss this in the last class, but I think it's sort of worth reiterating a few things. The main point was to break up your large work into chapters, and I haven't got an example of that here because it was just too time consuming to do that. So what we mean by that is, okay, so if you should have a document for your introduction, a document for chapter 1, maybe a document for methods, and you can use the one library in Endnote to work with those different documents. And then what happens at the end when you're ready to combine them, you basically create a new document from scratch. What you would need to do is convert your citations to unformatted and then copy and paste to your new document, and then basically go update citations and bibliography. So that's really the simplest way to explain that. The problem if you're working with a really long document is that it will become cumbersome for Endnote to continually update your citations, and you might be prone to troubles with your library. The other thing to do is, when you're working with a long document, is just to keep your formatting off. So you can see here, for example, now my formatting is off. If I go, all right, I just want to insert another reference, I might just put in that one, tools, cite while you write, insert selected citation. You can see, because I've got formatting off, it's got that funny, it's in that funny format, and you can see it's not linked because I'm clicking on it and there's no graying out of the reference. It's just a way to speed up or help your computer's processing while you're working with a larger document. And then what you would do then is go update citations and bibliography, and you can see now it's converted to a normal looking reference, and when you highlight it, you can see that that has got that link to Endnote. So there's a couple of little things, I can put that back on my instant formatting because the document's tiny. There's a couple of other things that you might find helpful with citations. So again, depending on the style, but things like excluding the author, for example. So you can see here I've got this reference that I've excluded the author and I've got a page number. So to show you that, I can go edit citation, and you can see what I've done is I've selected exclude author. So I can just go default, display as default, which is author year. But I chose to exclude the author that time, and I've put a page number in. So I could also go prefix C also if you wanted to put in a comment or something in that particular reference. And so you can see now it's sort of displayed like that. Edit. Okay, so and you can see the reference here as well. Another thing is to check if you think, oh, my reference isn't displaying how it should. So you see this example here, I've got Ian's full name is displaying in that reference, and I don't want that. I think, well, what's going on there? So if I go edit and manage citation, and it's highlighted the citation here, and I want to go edit the reference, and then that takes me to if Endnote would hurry up, it takes me directly to the reference in Endnote, and I can see here I've got something wrong here in my metadata there. I've got a full stop after his middle name, Amos. So I just backspace that, click save, get out of that reference, and then go OK. And now I just go update citations and bibliography, and you can see now it's converted back to a proper looking reference. Okay, the other thing that you might come across is surnames, and again, I'm particularly talking about APA 7 here, so apologies if that's not the referencing style, but you will see sometimes it just puts the surname, and sometimes I've got like initial, and that's because I've got another reference down here with the same surname, O'Brien, but it's a different initial, so it's a different person. So again, it's referring back to that referencing style in Endnote, which is, if I go and have a look at the reason why it's doing that, it's displaying the initials in that case. If you look at the style, and if you go to citations, because now we're referring to the citations, you can see author lists. So these are the general rules for APA 7, but you can see there's a little point here for ambiguous citations. So I've got it selected as, in here in author name, I've got use initials only for primary authors with the same name. Okay, so that helps distinguish between, to let the reader know, well, that's a different O'Brien. And also in the ambiguous citations, I've got add a letter after the year, which is the recommendation for APA 7. So you can see, if we go back to the document, I've got P. O'Brien and I. M. O'Brien. There's displaying that way. The other option that you've got is to, for example, like see this one. So it's the same author, and in some cases the same year. So that's where that A and the B come in. But you could change that to we open up again. You can add more authors until the citation is unique. Okay, so you've got that option, and that will add more author names to the citation so that they look different. Okay, so I can show you that. File, save, file, close. So if you see problems in your citations, then it might be because one of those settings is not how you expect it. So you can see now that it's not using the A and the B, but it's putting in extra author names until the reference is unique. Okay, so I'll just go back because I actually hate that, so I'm going to change it now. And you'd think that I'd have some sort of paper that I'm working on where it would actually matter, and it really doesn't matter, but I just don't like that. I prefer to have the A and the B. So if I go back, and it just shows you how you can do that, but do a split citations, and then I just take that off, and then always remember to save what your the changes that you've made, and then you can close the style, and I can go back to here and go update, and it removes that. Okay, so you might find that sort of useful. The other useful thing in here to remind you of is that you don't just backspace or delete in here, because what happens is that, we'll say if I went into this one, if I try to force that to say C glass 1991, every time it updates, it'll just remove that. So this is where you need to use this edit and manage citation tool. Okay, so you want C in there and go okay. And I should have gone C space, okay, right. And then it will be there permanently and not drive you insane. So some other useful information with regards to your reference list. There's a little link here which says absolutely nothing, but if you click on it, it says configure bibliography. So you can, again, you can't sort of highlight your reference list and change the font, but you can do that in here. If you go into layout, right, so I can add in a title to my list. I can make that title bold if I want to, like that. I can increase the spacing of the reference list to double, and I can make that a single space between, and go okay. Okay, so you can see that now creates that sort of look, and it's got my reference title there. The other really useful thing that I found in here, and I only just discovered this, was this link in-text citations to references in the bibliography. So if your reader is reading that, I can show you what I mean. So even though it doesn't look like it's linked, if I go, okay, control click, it'll take me to that reference. So I found that sort of quite neat, and you can also make it underline the linked in-text citations. So if I do that, go back to my words, you can see how they're highlighted, and then those links will go straight to the reference that the corresponding reference. So you may or may not find that useful. Okay, so have we got any questions about any of that info so far? No? Is this all sort of relevant info, or is it you're already way past this in terms of your requirements for Endnote?
Very helpful, Jill. Thank
So
you.
far, so good.
Yeah.
I can do most of this, but some of it is really useful revision. Thank you.
Good. Okay. So actually, the other thing I wanted to show you in here in this, now again, it depends on what you're writing, but as you know, if I unformat my document and all my references now are sort of, they're placeholders, they're not linked to Endnote, and they've got those curly brackets. One of the tips that you may find helpful is if you're in your paper or your document, you're actually using curly brackets for something else, like, so you're not just using the normal sort of brackets, but you've used curly brackets. That this can become problematic because Endnote might think that your curly brackets in your document are actually unformatted citations, and it might go looking for the citation when you're updating it, and it will give you an error message. So you can actually change your temporary citation brackets to something else. You might change them to the squarer type ones, like that, for example. So you do have that flexibility to change that temporary citation. The other thing that I always recommend to people when I catch up with them about Endnote is to include the record number in your references. And to do that, again, you can go to Edit Preferences and go to Display Fields. It really doesn't, it's not happy. We'll wait for the wheel of death. Okay, so as you can see here, you can sort of select the categories through each of those columns, like so the heading. So just make you can. The benefit of having record number is that record number is basically the number when that record was added. So it would be, you know, the first one is the first ever reference that you put in to Endnote. So is your number one. Now that helps when you've got duplicate records, or if you've got a problem here in your document, which becomes apparent if you if you've got the unformatted, and you can see the record there. So if you're trying to determine what reference, or you need to find the reference that's not working properly, or there's a duplicate, it's really useful to have that ability to find the record number in Endnote. Okay, so you can change your preferences to show record number there. So the other thing with that, it becomes helpful when you're checking for duplicates. So if you go to your library and you want to find duplicates, I should have some duplicates because I've left some in there. So what happens is that the window pops up, and I can see a temporary folder has been made here, duplicate references, and there's 4 in there. But this window pops up and it's telling you these are the 2 versions of this record that you've got. The one on the left is always the first record that was added, and you can see that's 1026, and this one over here is 1168. So obviously I've imported records at some point, and I haven't excluded duplicates from the import, or for some reason it's not recognized them as the same article. And you can see here, I can see some differences already. So you can actually transfer that information over to that first record, and you might just scroll down and see, well, in this case, you know, which one has got the most useful information, or is the information that I can transfer from one to the other. Normally what you'd really want to check is, you know, has it got an attachment? Is there a PDF on one and not the other? So you would generally keep the one with the PDF if that one didn't have a PDF. And then all you need to do is just go, if you're happy with that, just go keep this record. And then your next duplicate will pop up if you've got more than one set of duplicate records. So again, you can see with the record number, you can see which one was added first. You can see that there's more information in terms of names over here. So I could go, okay, I want to copy that, and I want to paste that there. And then we just scroll down and check. We've got the DOI in both of them, so that's handy. Just check, it's got a type of article, it's got the full journal name, and then both of them have got records, and then this one's got a little bit more information, so I'm going to keep that record. So that's, again, where the record number becomes useful. And if you've got a lot of duplicates, that temporary folder will be up there. You can also just go cancel, and that temporary duplicate folder will remain in Endnote until you close and then reopen your library. So if that's all good, I guess I'd like to talk a little bit more about syncing and Endnote Online. I'm not sure how many of you would use Endnote Online, or do you already share your library or parts of your library, say groups, with Endnote Online, via Endnote Online? So I guess the main thing to remember is that there's differences between sync and sharing, but syncing basically helps sharing. So the main thing to remember with syncing is that you can only sync one library at a time. Syncing gives you the ability to log on to another device and access your Endnote library, okay, via Endnote Online. And you can also sync, I think up to 3 devices, I think you can sync across. But you can see here the sort of details. You'll get error messages if there's problems with your syncing. The other thing to remember is that it won't sync the names of your group sets, but it will sync your group names or your custom group names, which can be a little bit confusing, as I can demonstrate if I just bring this over here. Just go new share. So I'll just want to share. If I log into my Endnote Online, so you can see my Endnote Online account here, and you can see I've got all, because in Endnote I've got multiple groups called Sonal and EBSCO, Scopus, etc. So you can see under my group sets, they make sense because the overarching heading in the group set is unique, but I've got lots of custom groups called the same thing. So just something to be mindful of if you use, or if you're sharing groups, you want to make sure that you're going to share the right one. So you can see in Endnote Online, if I've got, you can organize your groups, I manage my group. So this is basically a list of my groups, and I can see which ones I'm sharing. So that refers back to, remember the little people symbol. So I'm sharing these couple of groups. You can always change the sharing that you're doing. So I'm managing this sharing here, and at this one, I'm sharing that library with Chintzy. I can control what that person is able to do. I can say read only, or I can say read and write. I can add another person to that. So I might add, say, Tali to that group. Tali Allen, scu.edu.au, read and write, apply, and then Tali will get a email saying that there's a group shared with her, or if she just logs into her Endnote online account, down the bottom, she will, underneath all her references, she will see groups shared by others, and she will see my group under there, and I can see a group that Tali has shared previously with me down there. So remember, so that's one way of sharing parts of your Endnote library. So you can share the whole library, or you can share parts of your Endnote library via groups. Okay, so if I go share, you can search, invite people to share Endnote library just by sending them that email, and you can direct the permission. So just keep in mind that that's different to sharing a document, all right? So that just means that when they're logged into their Endnote Online, they can add references to your shared library. they can add the references from the shared library to their document, but you're not sharing the document, you're sharing the library. So what I find also is people share documents without unformatting the document. And then what happens is that you need to choose to upload those references to your EndNote library. So keep that in mind. If I just go update that. So I can share this document if I go, you know, share, and I'm going to share it by email. I'm going to send it as an attachment to Tali. Then what she needs to do when she opens that is to basically absorb those references into her EndNote library. And that can become cumbersome, as you can imagine, if you're working, say, with a student, or if you're working with a supervisor and you're sharing a document back and forth. Okay. Now, EndNote 21, apparently there has a new Cite While You Write plugin for Google Docs. So I sort of, you know, predict in the future then that maybe we'll be using Google Docs more for sharing, because you're actually sharing the document and you're sharing your references at the same time. But, you know, this is what we need to sort of test out and see how that works before we sort of recommend that sort of any further. So just keep in mind, so you can share references, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's gonna solve all your problems in terms of sharing a document. So we recommend that you either convert to unformatted, particularly if you're cutting and pasting large amounts of text, convert to unformatted. If you're going to share with somebody else and want them to read it, you can convert to unformatted and break that link with EndNote so it doesn't cause you problems. And then when you've got your final document, you want to convert to plain text. So that basically permanently removes the link to EndNote. So you would only ever do that when you're totally finished and you're submitting and you're saying goodbye, never to be used with EndNote again. All right, so you would always, before you save as plain text, always save a copy, save a copy first and then convert to plain text. So I think we're pretty much out of time, and that's basically covered everything else I wanted to do. I did want to do a little bit more on terms list, but I think actually, Dan, that was helpful because that made me run over terms list to basically covered most of the things that I wanted to do. But I did want to just point out, if you're having trouble in your document with author names, that's somewhere that you need to look, is your terms lists. So if I'm getting, because as I said, remember, every time you upload a reference, this list, these terms are created. Okay, so if I add multiple papers and they've got the same author, but they're written in a slightly different way, that's going to add to this these terms. So one way of doing of fixing that is to go in here and say I'm getting in my reference list, I'm getting you know, it's not recognizing Ian Amos glass as I glass, or glass I, for example. So that's something that I might do in here. I'd go in here and look at my what has it got for glass with the surname. If I can get there, it's not got one of those nice scrolly find things. And I might delete the author list, the author name. So like I might go, okay, so that one I don't want because it's got that dot after it and that causes me problems. So I just want to delete that one. And so it will remove that. There is another way, if you've got lots of references with the same author name, but there's slight variations.
Jill,
Yep.
excuse me, if you've just deleted that one with the full stop, no, I just might have missed something. If you've deleted that with the full stop, what happens to the actual reference that had that one with the full stop? Does Endnote know to replace it with one of the others?
It's just that the term is recognised as previously entered, but remember I already had changed that. I'd already removed that full stop when I edited the reference,
So
but it still will appear in the terms list.
Right, so
Okay,
you wouldn't do it unless you'd already fixed it in the actual reference.
Yeah, I
okay.
wouldn't, because if it's still in the reference, it's just going to keep appearing back in your terms list.
Yep, that's right. That's what I thought. I was just checking. Yep, thank you.
Definitely. So the other way of doing that is using the tool. I thought it was a tool library. I don't remember this. What is it called? Tools. There's a find and replace. Oh, okay, might be in references. Find and replace. Oh God, it's not really logical. There is a find and replace function in here somewhere. There, find and replace, right? So you can apply this find and replace. So if I select author, if I want to find all like that, and I go replace with Glass, Ian, Amos. So I can replace all of the records in Endnote that I've got with the author Glass IA with Glass, Ian, Amos. Okay, so you can use that tool, and that will be like a universally applied to the references. Okay, so that's another one, but I won't do that now because I think we're pretty much out of time. And I think that's sort of a little bit of everything that I've got on my list. It always takes longer than I thought. Find, replace, compare, contrast. Yep. So does anyone have any questions or any feedback about, is this the type of content that you need, or do you need something else in particular when it comes to Endnote? I was originally going to talk about organising your groups for Covidence as well. So, but most of you will probably have more experience with Covidence than I do. And we sort of just recommend that you save your database records like underneath the name of the database, and that will help you when you upload those results to Covidence.
Okay, well, thanks for that. That was pretty good. No one's responded about other topics, because the option is, to run another.
I'm really just pulling these topics
Yeah.
out of the hat because.
And we're happy to hear from everyone that's here about what other Endnote topics they're interested in, because, we could run another workshop later and so forth. So let us know.
Yeah, and as I said, Endnote 21 will be up and running probably before the end of the year. You don't have to upgrade. Just always remember that, particularly if you are really close to submitting. I would say don't do anything.
Yes.
Just wait to, do a big change like that from Endnote 20 to Endnote 21 until after you've submitted your manuscript or your PhD or
It's probably
Has
good
anyone
advice.
here downloaded it? Can I ask? And how did it go? Was it easy and foolproof, or was there problems?
sorry, but with downloading what, Dan?
21,
Sorry,
is that what you mean?
Yeah, 21. Is anyone using it, and how did it go?
Well, we haven't got it available for download yet. Okay, like through SCU, like I'm not talking about a personal copy. I actually have downloaded it because I found somebody pointed out to me and went, hey, you can get this from, you know, from somebody else's uni's website. And I was like, no way, surely not. And yes, so I have actually got the files on my computer, but I just haven't installed them.
Yeah, so basically
yeah.
Jill and I will download it, and then we have to update all our resources before we can put it out to everyone, obviously, because the resources won't be correct. So that is going to take us a little bit of time to do that. But once that's completed, we'll be rolling out Endnote 21. Yeah, so next year, most likely all these classes will be Endnote 21, not Endnote 20.
Excellent. And yeah, we'll run some more next year.
But you know, but just like now, like we still do have people using X9, and
Yeah,
again, like there's no problem with upgrading. But if you're using X9 and you did want to upgrade, you always need to upgrade to the latest version of whatever it is you're using. So you would have to upgrade to the latest version of X9 first, before you then upgrade to Endnote 20. And just remember that it's not backwards compatible. So your library is not going to be backwards compatible anymore once you've converted. So that's why I generally recommend, if you're really close to finishing a document or submitting, then don't make any changes. You know, if it's working for you, just continue on until you finish whatever project you're working on before you consider upgrading. Yep, definitely. Okay.
Thanks, Jill and others. Bye for now.
See you, Dan.
thanks, Dan.
All right, bye.
Thank you. Look, there was a quick question in the chat there from Catherine about APA 7th proper. She asked, can I ask you why you have an APA 7th proper? Is there a formatting concern? Is it just
no, that's just me fiddling with the style. So
you're just renaming your style?
Well, yeah, I made some changes to it, just, you know, from fiddling, from basically, you know, so that I understood the process better. So I copied the style, called it that, you know, made some tweaks to it. So that was just to help my understanding of how the
Right.
styles work.
Yeah. Okay.
But always remember, you know, you've got those preloaded styles. It's very rare that you're not going to find the style that you're looking for in EndNote. And you can upload additional styles from the Clarivate web page. But remember, when you do that, always go save as, because you don't want to fiddle with the original.
That's right. Well, thank you so much. And I see that Tali's added, like, postgrads have appointments available with their SU librarians from their faculty, and she's posted the link there. It's a bit of a privilege and not available to all undergrads, I understand. So, you know, take advantage of our marvelous librarians who help us. I certainly did when I did my PhD. I was up there every 5 minutes saying, help me with my EndNote. Yeah.
I'm sure it wasn't every 5 minutes.
No, I do exaggerate, but it was very helpful, and it's good to remind our students of our SU librarians. So thank you very much, everyone. I might stop recording there.